I can legally own these mags in the state of California. Now, I'm not a dealer, I am not a cop, I am not a lawyer, I am just a guy with a very large forehead. I'm going to talk about how I, and likely many of you, own these magazines, and we're going to talk about how owning these can end up putting you in jail, even if you legally own them. Doing certain things with them that are very common that people don't know about ends with people being put in jail. We're also going to talk about how in the future, with some court case changes, they could just become outright illegal or outright legal for you to go out and get some more for yourself. So stay tuned, watch the video, let me know what you think. So before we could talk about how owning these things legally can actually get you in jail for 4 different reasons, we have to talk about a little bit of backstory. Back in 2019, Judge Benitez issued an injunction in the lawsuit Duncan versus Bonta, which was challenging the soon-to-go into effect laws against the new possession, import, manufacture, sale, or purchase of high-capacity magazines. This meant it was a free-for-all. For a week period of time, people were able to buy, sell, import, and manufacture and possess high-capacity magazines. Now, this caught the state off guard. They were not expecting this to happen, so during that period of time, they applied for a stay on that injunction, and Judge Benitez gave that stay, but he left in place the part of the injunction about possession of those magazines, meaning that anyone that acquired them legally during that period of time, if you lived in the state of California and were an adult in 2019, you could have possessed and came into possession of those magazines during Freedom Week. The burden of proof to prove that you did not come into possession of them during that period of time is on the police. However, not all the police know the law. I've gotten into some arguments on the internet with people saying, oh, my uncle said that you can't have those at all, and he's a cop. If they were smart, they wouldn't be a cop. I'm sorry, that's a joke. Anyways, not all cops are the brightest, so not all cops know the law. And unfortunately, even if you end up not getting charged because it is legal for you to possess them, the state of California and police can still confiscate those magazines because they're what's still considered a nuisance item. So if a cop comes and hassles you about your firearms and you have legally possessed magazines, the cop can still kind of just take them and destroy them, which seems messed up, but there have been a few documented instances of this happening, so it's something to be aware of. Now, let's talk about the 4 different reasons that you can actually go to jail just by owning these magazines in the state of California. So right here we have 2 different AR-15s, which are both currently in the state of California legal to own, possess, purchase, transfer. These guns are legal. This gun right here is what's called a featureless gun, which basically means it doesn't have any of these scary features. It has no pistol grip, the stock is fixed, it has no muzzle, or it has no flash hider, it has a muzzle brake, no flare launcher, and no vertical foregrip. This will not get your dog shot. This gun has a detachable magazine, and this is a 30-round magazine, which I can legally use in this gun. However, this gun here is a fixed magazine, meaning that in order to remove this magazine, I must first disassemble the action of the firearm, opening it up a little bit, and then I can remove it. This is a 10-round magazine because a fixed magazine gun with a capacity to accept over 10 rounds in the magazine would be an assault weapon in the state of California. So I can own this gun with the pistol grip, adjustable stock, flash hider. I could put a vertical foregrip on it or a forward pistol grip, which is what the state considers an evil feature on this gun, but I simply have not. This gun is not an assault weapon. If I took this 11-round or greater magazine and put it in this gun, that would be a felony. In my recent CCW video where I talked about how I conceal carry this Glock 19 Gen 5 with 11 plus round magazines, in addition to people asking me how I got an off roster, well, the answer is simple. I paid a lot of money for it. In addition to that, one of the most common things that I saw in that video was people telling me that carrying these 11 or more round magazines was illegal and that doing so would put me in jail. They told me that they were told by police that this was illegal. However, for me, this is not illegal. For many people, carrying this gun that is registered in your name with 11 plus round magazines is legal. However, this is a big however. Some county sheriffs, some police departments that are the issuing agency of a concealed carry weapons permit in the state of California have restrictions on the magazine capacity. They will not allow you to carry your legally owned and possessed standard capacity magazines, even though it's legal for you to own them, even though it's legal for you to use them at the range. They put restrictions on their permits preventing people from using magazines that were acquired during Freedom Week, which we've talked about. So while this might be illegal for you, it is not illegal for me. But if you are unaware of your issuing agency's policies, I highly recommend that you do go take a look at your sheriff's policy or at your police chief's policy and make sure that you aren't accidentally breaking the law. I don't care what you do, as long as you're not hurting anybody that does not need to be hurt to defend yourself. I don't care what you're doing. I'm not telling you how to live your life. Just be mindful of what you're doing so you can make the right choices for yourself. So I'm getting ready to go to Nevada. I legally own and possess these Freedom Week magazines. As we talked about earlier, the stay on the injunction currently impacts importation. And now this is really why I thought of making this video, because this is a very interesting scenario. I legally own in the state of California this magazine here. It's got my name on it. It is mine. If I were to carry this on my person and drive into Nevada, or if I were to have this legally transported in my vehicle and go to Nevada, that's legal currently because Nevada does not have laws against this magazine. However, if I were to drive back into the state of California from Nevada with this same magazine that I legally own currently and have in my possession, it's got my name on it, if I cross back over into the California border, I would be breaking the law and I would be importing a high capacity magazine, or large capacity magazine, I think is what the state term is. And that would be illegal. Doing so could be illegal. If you bring your magazines that are of standard capacity out of the state and come back, you have broken the law. And I know a lot of people accidentally do this. Personally, I do not care what you do. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I want to be very clear with that. I am simply making you aware of the ridiculousness of this law. How would you work around this if you wanted to follow the law? Let's say you're someone like me and you want to go to Nevada. I have two realistic options if I'm choosing to carry the gun. I can bring this magazine, which I have a lot of, but of limited supply since I cannot legally acquire more. I could carry my gun with these 11 plus magazines into Nevada. Then I can leave them there and return to California. Look, I know the joke is there. I could also just leave California forever. I get it. You don't need to make the joke. I know that you were making it in your head. That's option one. Take them to Nevada, don't bring them back. Option two is kind of ridiculous. I could, in the state of California, carry my lower capacity 10 round magazines, drive into Nevada, and be totally fine, and then come back into Nevada or back into California. I could, while I'm there, if I wanted to use high capacity magazines, I could just go to a store in Nevada and purchase those magazines. And then when I want to come back to California, I could leave those magazines in the state of Nevada or sell them to someone or whatever. I could get rid of them before the border. I could just chuck them out the window. Don't do that. That's littering. But those are your two options legally. Now, there is always the secret third option, which we do know about, but I would never advise you to do anything like that, and I would never show myself doing anything like that because I obviously follow the law and want to not go to jail, right? The last thing that we need to talk about is changes in these lawsuits. So like I said, Duncan versus Bonta is the court case put on by the CRPA, which is funding the two lawsuits I'm a part of. That court case, Duncan versus Bonta, is set in the next few months to have some sort of movement on it, which could lead to a situation where overnight a judge's ruling in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals en banc panel could mean that this legally possessed magazine could become illegal simply overnight. Now, It's unlikely that that's going to happen at this point. It could take much longer because a lot of these court cases are designed to make their way all the way up to the Supreme Court. We will see ultimately where this lands, but you could end up in a situation where if we get an unfavorable ruling due to courts that are ignoring the law and ignoring the Supreme Court, you could be in a situation where these magazines become illegal. However, on the flip side of that coin, if these rulings are positive, if the Supreme Court steps in, if the Supreme Court doesn't have to step in and these court cases are positive, we could be in a position where you could just buy these mags every single day. I'm again going to say, don't hold your breath, but keep an eye out. You know, it takes very little effort to stay up to date and aware of what's going on if you don't want to constantly be scouring Reddit and Twitter and Facebook and various other forums to figure out what's going on. I try to make my channel as relevant as possible to the viewer. So if you want to stay up to date with California or big nationwide news, you know, sub to the channel, like this video, send it to a friend, let the algorithm know that you are interested in this video by interacting with it or sending it to someone. I would really appreciate that. Let me know what you guys think down below. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.